name's Ryan and welcome to Teach Me in 20. Each week I'll release a new podcast where I get to speak with awesome people who have something new to teach me that I know nothing about. If, like me, you're naturally curious about everything, this could be the podcast for you. So come along for the ride. It'll only cost you 20 minutes. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Teach Me in 20. Today we're joined by Adam Dina. Adam is going to teach us all about Ramadan, which of course just wrapped up earlier this month, and also share with us more insight into the Islamic faith. Adam, welcome to Teach Me in 20.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here. So you caught my interest because you were a participant in Ramadan.
That's correct.
So tell us all about that. Why do people do it? I know it's about the Islam faith.
Yes, so basically Ramadan is a month on the Islamic calendar. It's a month in which Muslims are prescribed to fast from sunrise to sunset.
Okay.
Like I said, it's just the month is based on the lunar calendar, so it's 1 month in the lunar calendar. And in the Quran, which is the book of the Muslims, you might say, it prescribes Muslims to fast during that time. Many different reasons for it, many different benefits, but essentially it's just a command of God in which Muslims follow.
And from what age do you partake in that?
So generally speaking, young kids can try it out, although it's not obligatory for them to do it. Normally you would start fasting when you've hit puberty or beyond then. And of course there are other exceptions. So for example, if you're sick, if you're pregnant, if you can't do it for whatever other sort of sickness, you're excused from that as well if you're old, for example. So it's an able-bodied human that can do it, generally speaking.
So basically you set your alarm and you're allowed to eat before the sun rises?
Yeah, so the pre-morning meal is called suhoor. Mm-hmm. And normally I set my alarm for about an hour and a half before. I get up, I have something to eat substantially. Yeah. Some people have
absolutely.
Some people have just a glass of water. I mean, I know a lot of people will just have a glass of water and a date, and then that's it. But
a date,
yes, a single date and a glass of water, and they can survive the whole day. But it depends where you are, because obviously for me, doing the work that I do, I normally have a big bowl of porridge or whatever. But contrary to popular belief, we don't sit there and stuff ourselves crazy.
I was going to say, is that why you wake up an hour before? No. It's just 1 hour degustation.
No way, no, not like that. No, not like that. It's more just because I just take ages to wake up. That's why I wake up an hour before. And when you at 4 o'clock in the morning, you hardly feel like eating, to be honest. Yep. So I just, don't stuff myself crazy, but I do stuff myself a bit sometimes. And then just use that time, a lot of time for sort of tranquility and prayer and stuff like that. So, yeah. So it's not just, I guess, the fasting component, it's the spiritual, I guess? Absolutely. I think that's what gets us through it, really. The spiritual component's massive. So it's kind of like a reboot month. Okay. So for the rest of the year. Like a cleanse. Like a cleanse. And not just a physical cleanse, but like I said, a spiritual cleanse. In the Ramadan, for example, you're not supposed to argue with people. If people argue with you, you're generally supposed to tell them, no, I can't argue because it's Ramadan. So I could have really annoyed you last month. And you massively annoyed me and I couldn't have said anything. I couldn't have said jack nothing. So, yeah. And the rules with it. So it's completely no eating and I believe no drinking. So you can't even have water. No, can't even have water. So my initial reaction was, is this safe? Because as humans, we need at least water. Of course, yeah. So, I mean, look, generally speaking, it's only for a month. Okay. And it's like I said, if you drink water at the start of the day and you obviously hydrate during the night, then I suppose the body is naturally supposed to fast. So we have this, human beings are not supposed to consume as much food as we do. Yeah, we have 3 meals a day, but the reality is our body actually doesn't necessarily need to use or need to have all that food. Mm-hmm. We generally utilize that food because we want to gain muscle or we want to become bigger or whatever, or we're just quite greedy. But generally speaking, you can never have too much cake, really. No, you sure about that, cake? Yeah, you sure about that? So, yeah. But yeah, no, it's I think it's a lot safer than it is. And like I said before, if you're not able to do it because of whatever reason, you don't have to do it. Yeah. So long as you're safe. So are you, I guess, drinking a lot before you're going to sleep? So you've eaten once the sunset? Yeah. And then I'm drinking a fair amount. I'll probably drink maybe, I don't know, just under a litre sort of thing before. And then afterwards you sort of hydrate during the night. Yep. For me, I find that if I don't drink enough in the morning, by the time 4 o'clock comes along, I'm getting headaches. Yep. So it's really important for me to do that as well. Do you lose weight on it? I lose about 3 kilos, 4 kilos. Okay. But then I gain it straight back. obviously by eating cake like you, right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay, to go to the other extreme, does anyone get ill or die off fast, Ramadan?
Well, no one dies particularly off Ramadan. I mean, I suppose people get sick. Yes, I know of people, for example, even myself, I got sick during Ramadan, but I didn't. It was only a small sickness. I know of some people that have gotten so sick they can't fast.
And that's
fine.
Through not eating?
That may be because, I mean, look, I wouldn't say it's necessarily through not eating. I would just say because of many imbalances within their life. Mm-hmm. You don't really know exactly what those imbalances are, but it could just be the fact that they didn't have a good morning meal, so therefore they get sick in the afternoon and that carries on, and therefore they can't fast the next day and they can make it up later. Another thing actually to mention as well is that women in their menstrual cycle are not prescribed, they're not supposed to fast.
Okay.
So if they're having the menstrual cycle, obviously it's a time where, it's a bit different for them, it's a bit uncomfortable, so therefore they're not supposed to fast during that time.
But I guess a woman, she'll get that monthly,
Exactly. So during that time in which obviously she can't fast, she just makes up the fast later on during the year before the next Ramadan. So there's no specific time for her. She's just going to make it up.
Okay, so you're saying she does have to do it if she gets her menstrual before or when Ramadan starts?
Correct. So during the obviously time that Ramadan is on, if she gets her menstrual cycle during that time, she doesn't fast those days.
Okay.
But then thereafter, she just makes it up.
Okay.
So my sister, for example, she obviously got her menstrual cycle through that time. So now she just makes up her fast maybe once a week, once a month, whatever. As long as those fasts are made up before the next Ramadan, it's fine.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And then, so what happens after? I believe there's a big celebration once the fasting has taken place.
Yeah, so that's Eid. That's what you call Eid al-Adha. So that's essentially marks the end of Ramadan. Generally, it's a time.
You mentioned it's like bigger than Christmas. It's for Catholic.
Yeah,
it's
like massive.
Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a meaning to it, I suppose. I think the interesting for me is that if you look at Christmas nowadays, it's become less of a religious holiday and more
very
of
commercial.
commercial. Yeah. But Eid, what we have, is still very much a religious holiday, and only Muslims are really celebrating it, not just any old Tom, Dick, and Harry. So, do you know what I mean? Like, hey, I just want presents at Christmas, whatever.
Yeah.
But the presents is not normally a thing. It's normally just community come together. So normally what will happen is in the morning there's an Eid prayer. Everyone gathers at a mosque. There's an Eid prayer about half an hour, and then people just go out to other people's houses, go see their family, and eat with their family and spend time with their family.
It's all coming together.
It's coming together. Super coming together. For the kids, we have presents and stuff if they want presents. They're supposed to keep it, nice for them.
And what's that for Ramadan symbolising?
It's just kind of, it's not really symbolising anything more than it's just encouraging them that this is a good thing, if you know what I mean. Because if you have a good experience when you're a child, you're more likely to take that into your adulthood.
Yeah,
and then, of course, adopt that religion. Because I think in Australia in particular, it's not a very religious country. So if you can imagine a child growing up as a Muslim in Australia in particular, it's pretty difficult for them as it is. So giving them an incentive, is a good way to keep them on that faith when they get older, I suppose. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we are a religious country. It's just, me personally as well, I think I've lost a lot of faith in just, you see what's happening with the Catholic Church.
Yeah,
I think Australia's always been more of a Catholic country, but you just see what's been happening and you just sort of are like, well, why are we supporting this when, it's the largest owner of real estate in the world, all the money they collect, it's, they get tax-free write-offs. That's a whole nother topic of discussion.
Whole other topic, yeah.
But what I did want to ask was, at what point during Ramadan does it get really hard? Because I'm sure a lot of people can relate to doing diets and fasting themselves, and most people get 2 weeks in and they're like, you know what, I made a mistake. Yeah. Let's change this.
Let's change it, yeah.
So when does it get hard for you, or when did it?
I suppose like with anything, the middle of something. At the start, you've got all this energy, and you're like, yeah, let's do it. And
it's exciting, probably.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Towards the end, you can see the end. So it's like, yeah, it's coming towards... Oh, excuse this, phone call.
Busy man.
That's actually my partner, by the way. So
hello.
Hi, partner. Just ignoring the call, guys. We'll just ignore that. So she's
like, what do you want to eat? We can do anything.
Exactly. So yeah, the middle part's probably the hardest. And like for me, I'm spiritually connected to it. So it's quite easy. I suppose the middle part's harder because you don't have that motivation of the start or the end. So it's just kind of you doing it yourself. So it's a good time for reflection. It's also you've been there a while and you kind of are used to the routine. And it's about getting that motivation to just make it
So what gives you that motivation? Is it that, are you praying more? Like you
absolutely. So spiritually you're at the mosque a lot more, for example, because at night when you finish breaking your fast, there's some night prayers called the Tarawih prayers, and they go for about an hour and a half, and it's where the Quran the Quran, which is the book of the Muslims, was revealed. One of the first verses was revealed in the month of Ramadan. So essentially, what they try and do now, the Quran is split up into about 30 parts. They call it juz. Every single night, when you go to the mosque, the imam or the leader will recite one of those juz off by heart.
Okay.
So they're actually the people around the world, young kids even, that have memorized the Quran cover to cover, and they recite one of those juz or parts of the Quran every night. And so you stand there and pray and you listen to it, and it's quite poetic. It's quite interesting, And
what are some examples of the readings that you'd be hearing?
Do you want me to recite something for you?
I guess, are they the same readings every year you heard?
So it's pretty much it. Yeah, it's the same readings every year because it's obviously from the Quran itself. So you might do 25 pages first day, 25 the second, 25 the third. So it's the same readings essentially. Yeah, just different verses and yeah. So. And
Ramadan, is it only in Ramadan you will go to the mosque every night, or you do that every day?
Some people do it every single day, but it's only in Ramadan that you have those extra Tarawih prayers, where the Quran is recited from cover to cover, essentially. But outside of Ramadan, I go to the mosque generally Fridays for Jummah, which is obviously congregational prayer, and then any time I want, I suppose.
Yeah, as with your last question, go ahead, let's hear recite something from the Quran if you like.
It's quite poetic.
I'm sure it would be really lovely to hear.
Okay, all right.
Just make sure you're nice and close.
Yeah, nice and close. It's going to be in Arabic, so I hope
I think you'll be able to translate for us.
I can translate. I'll get my phone translations to make sure I got it right exactly.
So I guess on the last day, do you remember what was said? So it's like the concluding of it all.
Yeah, so I can... Hang on. Can I use my phone?
Yeah.
Is that all right? No, because I want to do it properly. Just hang on. All right, so let me recite it first to you, and then I'll explain. All right?
Sounds good.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Wow. So
it's quite poetic, isn't it?
So everyone's singing this together?
Yeah, so basically the imam, I'll find a proper translation for you because I don't want to stuff it up. So the imam
you could literally say anything, and I feel like no one's going to be able to.
I know. So anyway, I'll translate it for you. So it says, in the name of God, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, all praise be to God.
Mm-hmm.
Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the merciful, the entirely merciful. Maliki Yawmiddin, the one that we turn to. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in, we only turn to you, we only ask you for help. Ihdina sirata al-mustaqim, so guide us in the right way. Sirata alladhina anamta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin, amin. So guide us in the way in the way in which you have guided the righteous, and not in the ways in which you have guided the wrong.
Wow.
Essentially like that. Simple.
But it has its own meaning and place, which is really beautiful.
Absolutely.
I guess I wanted to ask you, and following on from that, because that there is lovely, and I could describe it in other ways, but obviously recently we had a tragic event in Christchurch, and how did that impact your community?
Oh, massively. I think it's because it's a terrorist attack. It makes people scared because at the end of the day, Muslims in this country are a minority. Mm-hmm. And therefore, when something like this happens, it makes Muslims feel unsafe in the country they're in, particularly in a Western country. All we want to do is be able to practice our religion freely and peacefully. Mm-hmm. And when someone goes into a place like a mosque, which is probably, if you've ever been to one, and there's mosque open days, it's probably the most quietest, peaceful place. Like, you take your shoes off when you go in. When you go inside the mosque, you're not allowed to speak loudly. So it's a very quiet place. When someone goes and does that and attacks the very core of what Muslims are about, it's scary, I suppose. So it impacts on the Muslim community in a way of scary, because just afterwards at our mosque, we had police outside the mosque for a week.
Wow.
Just protecting, like literally.
Did they voluntarily go there, or you asked?
Voluntary, yeah. Okay. And then we now have a security guard. We have got 2 permanent security guards there every night. During the Ramadan, we had 2 permanent security guards there, and we closed the gates at a certain time. We built barbed wire around. recently there was a guy that threw a pig's head over, because we don't eat pig, obviously. They threw a pig's head over into the mosque, and then, So those changes with the security guard, the barbed wire, that was purely in response to Christchurch? The barbed wire's there already, yes, but the security guards and the cameras were in response to Christchurch, because... Look, at the end of the day, we believe that God protects us, but we do have to keep our wits about you. It's like the saying, tie your camel and then let God do the rest. Don't leave your camel out so it can run away. Tie it up, and then if anything happens, that's... I haven't heard that one. Is that an Islamic saying? Yeah, it's a bit of a saying, yeah. Okay. It's a bit of a saying. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, just tie your camel, and then if anything else happens, leave it up to God. But at the end of the day, prepare in life. And did those events stop people from coming to pray at the mosque? No. In fact, I think it increased it, if anything. If anything, a lot of my community, from what I know of Southern, because I go to the mosque in Southern River, a lot of them kept coming. In fact, there was more of a community that came. In fact, there was a lot of Christian churches that came and joined us and supported us. Yeah, I did hear that in areas, and even all around the world. Absolutely. So I would say that in some respects, there might be some people that come, but for me personally, with my the community that I knew, it just made them come to the mosque even more. Do you know what I mean? So. And at what age? I mean, your parents migrated here. Yeah. And was that hard for them to continue on their faith here? So, just a quick thing. My father's not actually Muslim. My mother is. Yep. They've divorced, actually. But it was incredibly hard for my mum to continue her faith here. But if anything, she wasn't very religious when we were growing up. She decided to become religious later on. And I think in 2009, she decided to wear the headscarf as a symbol of her religion, obviously. And why then did she choose? Because I think she's probably more spiritually ready. Because we'd just gone on Hajj, which is a pilgrimage. Have you ever heard of the saying, the Mecca of all things? Do you ever know where that comes from? No. It's funnily enough, because Mecca is actually a place where Muslims go for pilgrimage. Yes, yeah, I've heard that. But all the world congregates there at one time. So it's kind of, when you say the Mecca of all things, you're saying the biggest of all things, because all the Muslims come there at once, basically. Okay. So right after we went to a pilgrimage to Mecca, we came back and she was kind of just more spiritually in tune with herself, and she decided to wear the headscarf. But obviously she's had stories since of misinformation and ignorance and stuff like that. People, as in verbal abuse to her? Yeah, so she told me a story the other week of when she was... So she's a nurse, she's been a nurse for over 40 years. She continues to do her job. And she was treating a patient. And a patient in her mid-30s said, you're such a nice person, but, you guys are the enemy. I can't believe you're such a nice person. And so, it's this amazing thing that she's treating a patient, helping her out in life, and there's this dichotomy of how can you take from that she's the enemy? So there's a lot of misunderstanding, unfortunately. What do you think can help? I mean, this I feel is a great forum. It just breaks down a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I feel education is key, and it's uncertainty and it's just lack of knowledge that makes people fearful. Yeah. But what do you feel is one stepping stone that we can, the Islamic faith is seen less as, the enemy and something to fear? Well, I think just meeting Muslims, right? Just actively going out and trying to, and it's the responsibility also is on us as Muslims to be able to be the best character, have the best character. One of the best sayings of the Prophet, peace be upon him, Prophet Muhammad, who we believe to be the last and final prophet to mankind, he said that the best form of spreading your religion is not through teaching people it, but through your own good character. So be the best person you can in yourself, and then people will see that and get attracted to it. And then inquire, what is this religion? What is going on here? What's Islam? So I feel that the responsibility is upon us to go out there and to be good Muslims in the community we're at the very surface. I think that's what it needs. And if you don't, I suppose, if you don't know something about Islam, just ask. Don't have this preconceived notion. Don't let the media spoon feed you all this crap, because at the end of the day, clearly, if they're spoon-feeding all this stuff, it's for a particular agenda. Yeah. It's not for them. And what are the reasons that you like
the Islam religion, or you've stayed with it. I mentioned, you know, I'm myself, and I know a lot of people, we've sort of drifted away from more religion. I'm very much an advocate, just do good and, you know, do good to everyone, and just be a good person, and good things will, you know, people will be nice to you, and why can't the world just live like that? But
nice
in terms of religion, I understand everyone has their beliefs, and why was, you know, obviously you've brought up with it, but what you know, everyone has a choice. Why did you continue on?
I suppose because I just saw it as a reality, because Islam is a very simple religion at core. Like, it's just believe in one God, do what he says to do, heaven or hell, done. Like, it's not exactly such a complicated religion. So I suppose when I looked around at the world around me, for me, the idea of creation made sense. It made sense because there was just a lot of things that were frankly unexplained. And so I think that it held truth within me logically. But on another level, it was spiritually as well, because it meant that I could always have something to turn back to, and an ultimate reality, an ultimate purpose, because at the end of the day, Muslims, generally speaking, are supposed to be living for the afterlife. So anything that we do is supposed to be for the afterlife. So in a sense, like, a lot of people are like, oh, why is this world like this? Why can't we never have justice? Well, like, for me, it's kind of like, yes, that is true, but there's an ultimate justice. And I think that's going to happen when we die. So there's always that in my mind.
Is that a factor as well that contributes to people doing Ramadan, and they go, well,
absolutely,
if I don't do this?
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, absolutely. So there's rewards and punishment as well as anything. But absolutely, yeah. I think every Muslim lives for the afterlife. Because the core of Islam, if you look at Islam, comes from two root words. It comes from the root word peace and submission. So the two root words basically mean peaceful submission to the will of God. And a Muslim is someone who tries to attempt to submit to the will of God.
Okay.
So people don't really actually know that.
That's new.
So it's interesting, yeah.
News to me.
It's an interesting religion, because what appeals to me is that if you look at Christianity, it's named after and I don't mind Christianity, it's named after a person, or Christian, Christ. Judaism is named after a place. Buddhism is named after a man. Islam is named after a way of life. Islam, peaceful submission to the will of God. Do you know what I mean? So it's attractive. It's something that's like, hang on a sec, this is not just following something blindly. Personally, I think it's actually named after a lifestyle.
Wow.
So,
Adam, that's beautiful and super enlightening. Just about Islam and Ramadan and Mecca as well. So you've done Mecca?
I've been to Hajj, so it's Hajj pilgrimage. I have, yes. I've been there twice with my mum. Yeah, amazing.
Fantastic.
Insane.
I hope everyone's learned something from you here. And thanks so much for teaching us more about Islam and Ramadan.
No problem at all.
Thanks heaps.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode of Teach Me in 20. If you did, and if you even just learnt one thing, make sure you subscribe so each week you can learn something new with me. Bye.